Ladies and gentlemen, this is JudgeSpektre, and I'm here now to provide you with my thoughts on Jade Empire. Now, Jade Empire was an RPG that was released by Bioware in 2005, and Bioware has been renowned for making excellent RPGs, such as the first Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, and the upcoming Dragon Age Origins. But I found that this particular RPG, while liked generally, hasn't really been talked about too much, which I find to be somewhat unfortunate because apart from a very minor few problems I had, I found that this was a very enjoyable RPG. Now, Jade Empire is set in a kingdom inspired by the myths and legends of ancient China, and the storyline starts off in somewhat of a predictable fashion with your character being trained from childhood to one day fight a great evil. Now, the storyline itself is good, but the one thing that I really liked were the characters themselves. Now, Bioware has always had great characters in their series, and this game is no exception. There were several which really stood out to me. The Black Whirlwind was one of my personal favorites. He was a very brutish mercenary who wielded double axes and would constantly want to kill things or drink wine, and would tell some very funny stories about his history. A very simple-minded character, but very fun. Henpecked was another very funny character who used to be a drunken master but was tied down by his wife, and he makes constant references throughout the game about how he's miserable with his wife and how he really can't stand her, but in a very funny way, and he was one of my personal favorite characters along with the Black Whirlwind. Now, the other characters are all interesting too. I didn't really find that there were any I didn't like. I'm just not going to call attention to all of them right here. Now, on the topic of the storyline, the morality choices which Bioware had in the Knights of the Old Republic series come back in this game, but in somewhat of a different way. Rather than good and evil, they're sort of philosophies. Good would be the way of the open palm, and evil would be the way of the clenched fist. And the open palm is sort of trying to achieve balance in all things, from what I gathered, and they try to explain evil as not being 100% evil in this game by saying that the way of the closed fist was more along the lines of wanting people to actually show their willingness to survive rather than relying on other people to help them. Now, the different philosophies are explained in great detail by a character in a conversation. Unfortunately, despite very good explanations, the implementation of the way of the closed fist wasn't very good. In fact, there were only a few instances in the entire game where it was handled appropriately. Just like in Knights of the Old Republic, being evil in this game more or less revolved around just being a jerk, which I didn't really like very much. I wish they had spent more time to implement it properly given the great descriptions they gave of it. And one of the other problems I had with this game was in the actual core combat of the game. There was a lot of talk about how this game was going to revolve around martial arts fighting, which I thought to be very cool. But in fact, the combat in this game was pretty simple and was almost broken in a way because after delivering a combo, you could simply leap behind your enemy and hit him while his back is turned and avoid taking any damage. And this made playing the game extremely easy, even on the more harder difficulty settings. Also, this game is unfortunately quite short by RPG standards. An average playthrough with me wouldn't take more than about 10 or 12 hours. But with everything put together, I would say Jade Empire is one of my favorite RPGs that Bioware has ever done. And it's not really talked about much these days. But rumors and the video game industry tend to go together like bread and butter, and so there's constantly been rumors of a sequel for years, but nothing has really ever come out of that. And truth be told, I don't really think that this is a game that really requires a sequel because it just never seemed to me like they intended to do more than one. With the storyline, no matter how it ends, and yes, you can influence the ending of the storyline depending upon the choices you make, just like in Knights of the Old Republic, the story wraps itself up very nicely and doesn't give any indication of any sequel. And like I said, I don't really think that there needs to be one. I think that this was just a good original one-shot title, and that's how it should stay.